Good evening. I welcome you all to today's session. And in today's session, we will be covering everything that has happened in the defense sector in the entire year 2025 from January till October, November. All right. Today's session will be taken by me and Aditya sir. And we will be covering everything related to defense from the very scratch. That is, the various heads of the various armed forces and various provisions for the armed forces, the Ministry of Defense, the Chief of Defense Staff. Then also we will be covering the major operations that were in news in 2025, some related to India, others internationally also. And also we will be covering all the important defense exercises that have taken place in the year 2025. All right, from January till November. All right, so quickly beginning, we will obviously be beginning with the basics. So first we'll talk about the defense apparatus of India. All right. So when we talk about the defense structure, we basically have three major forces, the armed forces, that is the army, the navy, and the air force. These three forces, they have their significant respective heads, but all of these forces are under the supreme command of the President of India. So the President of India, as per Article 52 of the Constitution, is the supreme command of the defense forces in India. All right. Then below the President, we obviously have the Union Ministry of Defense. The Union Minister of Defense presently is Rajnath Singh. The first one was Sardar Baldev Singh. He's also Rajnath Singh is also the chair of Defense Acquisition Council. And along with this, these are the various bodies that fall under Ministry of Defense. All right. So we have the Army, the Naval Forces, the Air Force, Coast Guard, Territorial Army, Border Roads Organization, which was established in 1960. And it simply looks into constructing roads along the northern territorial borders of India, which is strategically important. That is why it does not fall under the Ministry of Roads and Transport. All right. And Defense, DRDO, obviously, the major organization which works into undertaking manufacture of various defense equipments. All right. Okay.
Let's have a look at the next slide here. So this slide and the next one after this deals with the top military officials in the country. So we are talking about the Chief of Defense Staff, the chiefs of the various armed forces, and so on and so forth. First, I just want to focus on Chief of Defense Staff. Why is this even more important this year? Remember, Pakistan, after Operation Sindoor, has also made their Chief of Army Staff, General Asim Munir, a Field Marshal, which is their honorary rank. Further, they have also now, through the 27th Amendment, made him the Chief of Defense Forces. Okay, so please keep that in mind. So linked to that, we should know about our own Chief of Defense Staff in India. Okay, so this position of Chief of Defense Staff is not standalone. The same person holds these 3 or 4 titles which I have mentioned. Okay, so number 1, Chief of Defense Staff. Number 2, the permanent chair of the Chiefs of Staff Committee. Number 3, the Secretary of the Department of Military Affairs in the Ministry of Defense. And finally, the Principal Military Advisor to the Defense Minister or Raksha Mantri. Okay, so all these titles are held by the Chief of Defense Staff. Whoever is the CDS holds a 4-star rank. Okay, theoretically, anyone from any of the forces can become the CDS, but till date and likely in the future, usually army personnel end up becoming Chiefs of Defense Staff, considering, of course, that the army is the biggest armed force of the nation. Okay, so the position of CDF has not always existed. It was first recommended by the Kargil Review Commission, which was chaired by K. Subramaniam. The Subramaniam you see here, this is the S in S. Jaishankar, who is the current Minister of External Affairs. So it was his father who chaired the Kargil Review Commission. So they recommended the creation of the CDS position. Then there was a group of ministers in 2001. Then there was the Naresh Chandra Task Force, and finally the Shekatkar Committee. So all of these bodies over time have All of these bodies over time have basically recommended the creation of the position of Chief of Defense Staff. So ultimately, at the end of 2019, the announcement was made that the first CDS is going to be appointed for this newly created position. So from 1st Jan 2020, our first CDS was General Bipin Rawat. He, of course, tragically died in a helicopter crash while visiting one of the staff academies. The current Chief of Defense Staff is General Anil Chauhan. Okay, so just remember, all of these positions are held by the CDS. Current General Anil Chauhan, current and second CDS. First ever CDS was General Bipin Rawat. Okay, let's now move on to the next slide. This one covers the top military officials. So first, let's look at the pre-republic phase, meaning before our constitution came into being. Why is that? Remember, ma'am has just shown you that the president holds the supreme command of the defense forces of India, right? So that only happened in 1950. But between 47 and 50, the position of commander-in-chief of the Indian Army still existed. And so who was the first commander-in-chief of the Indian Army after independence? It was Sir Francis Roy Butcher. Okay. After that, the first Indian commander-in-chief of the Indian Army was K.M. Kariappa. Okay. And he became the first Indian commander-in-chief on 15th of January 1949, which is why the 15th of January is observed as Army Day. And he retired on 14th of January a few years later, which is why we observe that day as Veterans Day. Okay, let's now come to the three most important chiefs of staff: the Chief of Army, Navy, and Air Staff. Okay, so please be clear, the CDS as well as these three chiefs all hold 4-star ranks. When we talk about ranks, we are talking about titles like General, Admiral, right, Air Chief Marshal. Okay, coincidentally, the three ranks I just told you are the ranks held by the Chief of Army Staff, Navy Staff, and Air Staff. So operationally, the topmost ranks of the Army, Navy, and Air Force are General, Admiral, and Air Chief Marshal. Okay, these are all 4-star ranks. The CDS is also a 4-star rank officer. When we talk about 5-star ranks, in India, 5-star ranks are honorary ranks. Okay, until date, only 3 Indians have ever been created to the honorary 5-star ranks: 2 from the Army, 1 from the Air Force. Nobody from the Navy has ever been appointed to the 5-star rank. So what you have to know is the name of these 5-star ranks for the 3 forces. In the Army, the rank is Field Marshal. Till date, 2, the first, Sam Manekshaw. You might have seen the TV series online about him. He was also popularly called Sam Bahadur, right, for his role in the 1971 war. The second person to be appointed as Field Marshal was K.M. Kariappa. No one has ever been appointed Admiral of the Fleet, which is the 5-star rank of the Navy. And one Indian, Arjan Singh, has been appointed as Marshal of the Air Force, the 5-star rank of the Indian Air Force. So what should you know? The 3 ranks which are the 5-star ranks in the 3 forces: the 2 Indians to have become Field Marshal, 1 Indian to have become Marshal of the Air Force. Nobody has become Admiral of the Fleet. None of these 3 people are alive anymore. So at this point, there are no living 5-star officials in India. Okay, let's now come back. So right now, the Chief of Army Staff is General Upendra Dwivedi. All of these you have to remember, considering everything about Operation Sindoor, Operation Mahadev, the various terror attacks which have occurred, as well as the general state of wars and conflicts in the world. So our understanding of our own military and armed forces is absolutely vital. Okay, so General Upendra Dwivedi is the Chief of Army Staff. Air Chief Marshal Amarpreet Singh is the Chief of Air Staff, and Admiral Dinesh K. Tripathi is the Chief of Naval Staff. Since we've covered Army Day and Veterans Day already, we also thought we would quickly cover Navy Day and Air Force Day. Navy Day on the 4th of December, just 3 days before your exam, and Air Force Day on the 8th of October. Okay, so I hope all of these details are clear. There's a reason we started with this. Obviously, there are many pieces of news about all of this, but we wanted to start just so you have a good basic understanding. Okay, let's now move on to the next slide. So finally, these are all of the other important officials in the national security world of India. So as you know, the top body on national security is called the National Security Council. Okay, do not confuse this with the Cabinet Committee on Security. Okay, so Cabinet Committee on Security is a committee of ministers chaired by the Prime Minister, which is the top decision-making body on national security affairs. The National Security Council is more of an expert body, though it is notionally chaired by the Prime Minister. The real officer in charge of the National Security Council is the NSA, the National Security Advisor. So the first time any NSA was appointed was about 25 years ago. His name was Mr. Brajesh Mishra. And currently, of course, you know, Ajit Doval is the National Security Advisor. Very storied career, and certainly we hear about him a lot these days. So please do remember him. It is his photo that's on the background of this slide. Okay, so Ajit Doval is the National Security Advisor. Now, when we talk about the National Security Council, under it there are several bodies. So the two of them are mentioned here. One is the Strategic Policy Group of the National Security Council, which is ex officio chaired by whoever is the NSA, right now Ajit Doval. This second body, the National Security Advisory Board, or the NSAB, is a body within the National Security Council, which had a new appointment in 2025. Okay, so wherever I've mentioned 2025 in this slide, basically to indicate that there was a reason that these bodies came in the current affairs. Okay, so Alok Joshi was appointed as the chair of the National Security Advisory Board within the National Security Council. Then these two other important officials were also appointed in 2025. Number one, the National Maritime Security Coordinator, that is Mr. Biswajit Das Gupta, and the National Cyber Security Coordinator, Mr. Naveen Kumar Singh. Please keep in mind Cyber Security Coordinator from the perspective of all of the financial scams as well as artificial intelligence regulation as well. Okay, so you don't know in the mind of the question setter what small topic he will relate to another topic. Okay, so these two are important from the perspective, of course, of national security, but you can also link it to several other topics. These second last and third last pointers are about the Nuclear Command Authority. We are going to take a deeper look into the structure of nuclear power, which countries have nuclear weapons, and so on and so forth. But remember, in India, what is the body which takes decisions relating to nuclear weapons? It is the Nuclear Command Authority. Okay, the Nuclear Command Authority does the decision making, but which part of the army or which part of the military is involved with handling the nuclear weapons? It is the SFC, or the Strategic Forces Command. Okay, so the Strategic Forces Command is functionally tri-service command, which functions under the direction of the Nuclear Command Authority. Within this body, there are two councils. There is a political council chaired by the PM, and there is an executive council chaired by the National Security Advisor. The last point here mentions the two intelligence agencies of the country. Number one, the External Intelligence Agency, the Research and Analysis Wing, which functions as a wing of the Cabinet Secretary. Therefore, he also holds the title of Secretary Research, which is kind of a cool title for a spy master to have. So this year, Mr. Parag Jain was appointed as the director of the Research and Analysis Wing. This body, which I believe should not exist anymore, is the Intelligence Bureau, because why should a democratic country have an internal intelligence agency to spy on our own citizens. So the director of the Intelligence Bureau, however, of course, I do not run the country. So the director of the Intelligence Bureau is Mr. Tapan Kumar Dekha, whose term was extended in 2025. So he was already the head of the Intelligence Bureau, but his term was extended this year. Okay, so I hope these last few slides have given you a good idea of the defense apparatus of the country. The Supreme Command held with the President. Under them, of course, the Prime Minister as the chair of the Cabinet Committee on Security. The political head in terms of defense is the Defense Minister, who also chairs the Defense Acquisition Council. Then comes to the functional officials, the National Security Advisor, who is the executive of the National Security Council, though the council is chaired, of course, by the PM. Under it, we have these bodies, various other security coordinators, the Nuclear Command Authority to deal with and decide about nuclear weapons, and finally the intelligence agencies, the Research and Analysis Wing and the Intelligence Bureau. Finally, we also have the military itself. So we saw the CDS, the Chief of Army Staff, Navy Staff and Air Staff, and all of the details relating to that. So I hope this gives you a very good idea of the structure of defense policy and planning in the country. Now, within the Ministry of Defense, one of the departments is called the Department of Defense Research and Development. Okay, and the secretary of that department is also the chairman of the Defense Research and Development Organization. This year's GK began in January with the appointment of the chairman of DRDO, Mr. Samir V. Kamath. Okay, now I'll hand it over back to Ananya ma'am.
All right, now why are we doing this particular organization is because it is this organization which is responsible for all the major defense manufacturing that takes place in the country. Now, defense manufacturing meaning that all the missiles that India has, all the tanks that India has, anything related to our external security is overlooked and seen by this particular organization. All right, and then naturally, 1st of January, we every year have DRDO Day, because it was on 1st of January that DRDO came into existence in 1958. All right, so this is your actually the first current affair of the year. All right, okay, so this year we had a new chairman and secretary of DRDO, which was Samir V. Kamath. Then looking back into the static bit of it a little bit, the first director general of it was Daulat Singh Kothari. All right, and he is the same Kothari which is also responsible for, or who headed the Kothari Commission for Education, which was established in 1964 and gave the first education policy of India in 1968. All right. Okay. Now, quickly looking into DRDO. So, it was established or formed in 1958, and it was established by merging 3 separate defense-related organizations like Technical Development Establishment of the Indian Army, the Directorate of Technical Development and Production with Defense Science Organization. All right. Then you must also remember the motto of DRDO, which is Balasya Moolam Vigyanam, which it's a Sanskrit saying, phrase, which translates to strength lies in science. All right. And this year we naturally had the 67th Foundation Day. Now, looking into these 2 people, one is the Missile Woman of India, which is Tessie Thomas, and the other is Missile Man of India. Before we go to Missile Woman, let us begin with the Missile Man of India. Now, APJ Abdul Kalam is the Missile Man of India, and why is he considered as the Missile Man of India? Because it is actually him, it was under his visionary guidance that India developed its own missile development program. All right. So he is responsible for the launching of a particular program, which is known as Integrated Missile Development Program. All right. Now, this particular program was launched in the sense ideated in 1980. It was formally launched, established in 1983. And it was under this particular program only that we saw the development of the Prithvi missiles, the Agni series missiles, etc. All right. So because of this particular contribution, he is considered as the Missile Man of India. And then obviously Tessie Thomas. Tessie Thomas is considered as the missile woman because it is under her visionary or under her vision that India undertook the major manufacturing of the Agni series missiles, specifically the Agni Prime, Agni 5, 4, and now also we have the Agni 6 planned and proposed. Okay. Okay, then just very quickly we look into the various missile systems that have been developed by DRDO. Now there are many, all right, there are many, but we are covering only the ones which we feel are important that you should remember, which are somewhat a little special for India. Okay, all right. Now this gives you a basic idea as to the different types of missiles that India manufactures. So one special one is air-to-air missile, which is an Astra missile. Air-to-air meaning that it is taken up, it is aligned with a particular aircraft, launched by that aircraft, and it strikes something in the air itself. All right, that is why it is known as air-to-air missile. And Astra missile is our air-to-air missile. All right. Now this is again a part of current affairs this year because the Astra missile has been now named as Gandhi. All right. So please keep this in mind. Then surface to surface missiles, we have Trishul and Akash. Then surface to surface missiles, we have Agni, Prithvi, Dhanush, and Shaurya. Out of this, Prithvi is important because Prithvi was India's first developed missile. All right, this was the first missile that India had developed. Baki Agni is naturally important because we still have the Agni series continuing. Then cruise missiles, we have BrahMos and Nirbhay. BrahMos missile is that missile which we are co-developing along with Russia. And the name BrahMos is derived from two respective rivers, one of India, that is Brahmaputra, and one of Russia, which is Moskva. All right. So BrahMos is this name, and also that it is the BrahMos missile that India is expanding into. All right. So recent BrahMos development manufacturing plant was set up in Lucknow. And also it is this particular missile that India has exported to Philippines. All right. The Philippines was the first country to which we've exported BrahMos missiles. All right. Okay. Then combat aircraft, we have undertaken the development of our combat aircraft, which is under Light Combat Aircraft Program, LCA program, named Tejas. And if you had seen in the news recently, it was this particular aircraft which had crashed in the Dubai air show. All right. So keep Tejas in mind that way. Then we have rocket systems. Pinaka is India's Indian-made multi-barrel rocket launcher. All right, MBRL. Then main battle tank is Arjun. Before this, we had Bhishma. All right. Right now, the main battle tank that is being used by India is Arjun. And then obviously, this particular missile, the anti-tank missile, was launched this year and is Nag Mk2. All right. Nag Mk2 is an anti-tank missile, meaning that these battle tanks, which are in the battlefield, which are actually considered invincible, which are difficult to destroy, these anti-tank missiles undertake this particular feat. All right. Okay. Then terminologies, certain terminologies that you must have just come across previously, like ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and there are certain other defense related terminologies that you must keep in mind. The first one is SLBM, which is submarine launched ballistic missiles. Then ICBM, intercontinental ballistic missiles. So the Agni series missiles that we are developing, Agni 5, Agni Prime, all these are intercontinental ballistic missiles, meaning that if we launched it, because they have ranges of 5,000 kilometers, etc. So they move across continents. Like we launch it from India, it might even reach Europe. All right. So intercontinental ballistic missiles are those which can move across continents and basically have very large distances. All right. Then our LBM is rail launched ballistic missile. This is the very Agni Prime that we have launched this year. All right. Okay. Then Sagar was the government's initiative, which related to or pertained to security and growth for all in the region. This was launched by Prime Minister Narendra Modi only in 2015. And then there has been an update on the vision. The vision has now expanded and now it is known as Mahasagar, which implies mutual and holistic advancement for security and growth across regions. All right. Then naturally there were two types of missiles that were previously mentioned. Ballistic missiles. So what is a ballistic missile? A ballistic missile is a missile which once launched from a particular place basically follows a parabolic archic trajectory. All right. So launched from one place, it directly falls on the target. All right. That is a guided rocket powered weapon that follows a high arcing parabolic trajectory to deliver a warhead to a predetermined target. That is, we set up this target on a computer system, launch the missile is launched, makes a huge parabolic trajectory and lands on that particular target. All right. Then we have cruise missile. What does it mean? It is an unmanned vehicle. These are unmanned vehicles that are propelled by jet engines. So just keep in mind that mostly when you all see in movies also sometimes that you have this one aircraft and the aircraft is in the air, and from air the aircraft drops certain missiles. So cruise missiles can simply be understood as one of those missiles who are taken aboard or taken atop using an aircraft. So they cruise along with an aircraft and then they are launched. All right. And they can be launched from ground also, from air also, and from sea platforms also. All right. And they're mostly short range missiles. Ballistic missiles are long range missiles. Okay. All right. Then this year, our entire equation with Pakistan became somewhat critical. All right. And this entire critical equation actually began from the Pahalgam terror attack, specifically in the Baisaran Valley in Jammu and Kashmir. All right. Okay. So this happened in April. And when this Pahalgam terror attack happened, the first thing that India did was India undertook a retaliatory measure, not directly launching Operation Sindoor. But the first thing that India did was suspending the Indus Water Treaty. India suspended the Indus Water Treaty, number one. India closed its Wagha-Atari border with Pakistan, number two. And India significantly reduced the number of Indians in Pakistan High Commission, in India's High Commission in Pakistan. All right. These were the three major initiatives that India had undertaken. And then obviously we undertook Operation Sindoor. So before we get into Operation Sindoor, just a little information on Indus Water Treaty. It was signed on 19th of September 1960, brokered by World Bank, signed between the then presidents of Prime Minister of India, Jawaharlal Nehru, and the President of Pakistan, Ayub Khan. And the treaty basically called for sharing of the Indus River and 5 of its tributaries. So the Indus River's tributaries were divided into the western rivers and the eastern rivers. So western rivers basically consisted of Indus, Jhelum and Chenab. The eastern rivers had Ravi, Bias and Satluj. The Indus Water Treaty said that in these western river waters, India and Pakistan are to follow an 80:20 sharing ratio, meaning that 80% water will go to Pakistan and 20% water will go to India. And on these eastern rivers, India had undisputed control. Okay, India had absolute control on this. The second important thing about the treaty you need to keep in mind is that the treaty has a 3-level graded mechanism for dispute resolution. The first mechanism is that the dispute must go to the permanent Indus commissioners at Pakistan, and which has representatives from Pakistan as well as India. If the dispute is not resolved at the permanent Indus commission level, then it goes to the second level, which is permanent Indus commissioners plus a neutral expert. This neutral expert can be mutually chosen by Pakistan and India, or can be appointed by World Bank. And the third graded mechanism is that after these two levels fail, it reaches the third one, which is the permanent court of arbitration. All right. Okay. Now, India undertook these 4 things. In retaliation, Pakistan suspended the Shimla Convention. All right. So the Shimla Convention was signed after the 1971 war with Pakistan, and it was this particular Shimla Convention signed between the Pakistan leader Zulfikar Ali Bhutto and Indian Prime Minister Indira Gandhi. All right, and this convention had one major thing, which is by a mutual peaceful resolution of bilateral disputes, and also recognizing POK, the line of control LOC as the border between the two countries. Okay, then you just have then obviously Operation Sindoor was launched by India. Now, Operation Sindoor was launched to target the terrorist bases in Pakistan, okay, and POK region. After Operation Sindoor, India undertook Operation Mahadev and Shiv Shakti. Operation Mahadev and Shiv Shakti was to root out terrorists, individuals from the POK region. All right. Okay. And when India undertook Operation Sindoor, in retaliation, Pakistan undertook Operation Bunyan-Marsouf. All right. Just keep the name in mind. Then obviously recently you must have seen that Pakistan passed the 27th Amendment to their constitution, which called for creation of Chief of Defence Forces, and Asim Munir has been made this. Then after the success of Operation Sindoor, India also launched its new security doctrine, which called for zero tolerance against terrorism, all right, or zero tolerance for terrorism, and it had basically three new doctrines. One is decisive retaliation, in the sense that India is no longer going to wait many days after a terror attack happens. India is going to quickly respond to such terror attacks. Then no tolerance for nuclear blackmail. India is a nuclear power, Pakistan is a nuclear power, and if Pakistan throws or threatens India with respect to nuclear warfare, then India is no longer going to back down, or basically take a back step just because Pakistan is threatening India with nuclear weapons. India will also retaliate with nuclear weapons. And then no distinction between terror sponsors and terrorists. Pakistan never agrees to the fact that yes, they undertook this particular terrorist act in India. They always say that there were certain terror groups which undertook this attack. So India has made it a point now in her new security doctrine that India is not going to differentiate between terror sponsors and terrorists. If you are harboring these terrorist organizations in our country, then by default you are a terrorist. Okay. All right, then this just gives you a basic timeline of the other wars that took place between India and Pakistan. So 60 years of Indo-Pak War of 1965 took place this year, and because it was fought in 1965, and after the 1965 war, we had the Tashkent Agreement of 1966, where our former Prime Minister Lal Bahadur Shastri passed away. All right, and then we have a total of 4 wars with Pakistan: 1948, 65, 71, and 1999. All right. So 48 is for which resulted in, it's obviously for Kashmir, which resulted in Pakistani military forces occupying the Pakistan occupied region. 1965 was also because Pakistan undertook significant terrorist infiltrations in the POK region and Kashmir region. 71 was liberation for Bangladesh, and 99 is the Kargil War. All right, so we've had a total of 4 wars with Pakistan. Okay, then this year there were many operations which were in use, and you only need to keep in mind the operations which were in use in 2025. All right, so the first one here says Operation Sindhu. This particular operation was launched by India after the 12-day war began between Israel and Iran. All right, so India launched Operation Sindhu, under which India brought back Operation Sindoor we already did, Operation Mahadev we did, Operation Shiv Shakti we did. Now that was Operation Sindoor with respect to Pakistan. This is Operation Sindhu, which is the Indian name or the Hindi name for River Indus. All right, and under Operation Sindhu, when Israel undertook this attack on Iran, then India launched this operation to bring back Indian citizens from Iran. And not only did we bring back Indian citizens from Iran, we also brought back Nepalese and Sri Lankan citizens from Iran. All right. During the same war, USA launched Operation Midnight Hammer, where USA used the bunker buster bombs to destroy Iranian nuclear facilities of Natanz, Fordo, and Isfahan. All right. Then again in the same war, Operation Rising Lion was launched by Israel on Iran. Iran also retaliated by launching Operation True Promise 3 on Israel. And then in the same war, Iran undertook successful destroying of US armed bases in Qatar. And this was termed by Iran as Bashrat al-Fateh, which translates to glad tidings of victory. All right. Then we have Operation Brahma, which was a humanitarian operation launched by India, sent to Myanmar after the devastating earthquake that hit Myanmar. Then Operation Sankalp or Mission Sankalp was launched by Ministry of Home Affairs this year in India to root out Naxalism by 31st of March 2026. And it was under Operation Sankalp or Mission Sankalp that the Black Forest operation was launched in September. All right. Then there is Operation Ajay, which was launched in 2023 during the breakout of the Israel-Palestine war, which is continued till today. India is still bringing back Indians from those war-infested regions back to India under Operation Ajay. And then we have Megh Rahat, which was a localized operation to provide flood relief to Northeast India. Okay, so these were the major operations in news in 2025. All right, then coming to DRDO tests and missions that were undertaken in 2025, which are important for your exam. We have the Pralay mission, which is indigenous quasi-ballistic missile, meaning that it is not as far-reaching as a ballistic missile, but somewhere in between. It has the functions of both cruise and ballistic missiles. Then integrated air defense weapon systems were developed. Multi-layered air defense system comprising all indigenous quick reaction surface to air missiles. Then advanced very short range air defense system, high-powered laser-based directed energy weapon systems. All right, these three systems were undertaken under the integrated air defense weapon system. All right, then we have the launch of unmanned aerial vehicle launch precision guided missiles undertaken this year by DRDO. Then DRDO also undertook the launch of Saksham. Now, Saksham was important this year because if you all remember, during Operation Sindoor, there were a lot of drone attacks that were undertaking. Pakistan used a lot of drones, India used a lot of drones, and it was difficult for India to intercept these drones. So this particular Saksham initiative or Saksham system has been developed to counter drones. All right, this is the full form of Saksham. Then also this year, India launched the rail-based mobile launcher system with Agni Prime, and I think India has become the third or the fourth country to undertake launching of missiles through a rail system. And then this year again, the DRDO launched the Bhargavastra, which is India's first micro missile system. All right, so these are all the new launches this year. Other than that, we've also had certain defense inductions in 2025, specifically with relations to anti-submarine warfare and shallow watercraft. All right, so Arnala class INS Arnala was commissioned this year. Anjadeep was launched, Ajay was launched, Adrot was commissioned this year. Then Mahe class, INA Mahe was commissioned, and INS Magdala was launched. Under Project 17A, under which the DRDO seeks to develop advanced multi-mission stealth frigates, Udaygiri was launched and Himgiri was launched. Now, Udaygiri is specifically important because it is the 100th ship designed by Navy's Warship Design Bureau. All right. Then old reduction, that is retirement of MiG-21, also took place from the Air Force this year. And then the DRDO has also launched Sanjay, which is an advanced battlefield surveillance system. Okay. So keep these new launches in mind. All right. Then the government has announced the launch or proposed the launch of Mission Sudarshan Chakra on 15th of August 2025 on the Independence Day speech. Now, what is Mission Sudarshan Chakra? Under Mission Sudarshan Chakra, India seeks to develop its own comprehensive air defense missile interception system. All right. Right now, we are using S-400 Triumph, which is developed by NPO Almaz of Russia, and India has named S-400 Triumph as Sudarshan Chakra. Our Mission Sudarshan Chakra, we seek to develop our own defense system excuse me, by the year 2035 for the next 10 years. All right. Looking at some other air defense systems, Israel has 3. Mostly we are only aware of the first one, that is Iron Dome. Iron Dome is for short missile interception system, is a short range missile interception system. Other than that, Israel has 2 others. One is David's Sling, which is for medium range missile, which is a medium range missile interception system. And we have the Arrow system, which is for long range missile interception. Okay? Other than that, USA has its own system known as THAAD, and USA has this year proposed to make another one, which is Golden Dome. Russia presently has S-400 Triumph, and Russia has also proposed to make another one, which is S-500 Triumph. Okay? All right. Then coming to the nuclear sector of India's defense system. All right. Okay. Now, coming to the first one, which calls for or talks about International Atomic Energy Agency. So this particular agency, International Atomic Energy Agency, was established in 1957, and I think it is headquartered in Vienna, Austria, and it has around 180 members. And Rafael Mario Grossi is the Director General of International Atomic Energy Agency as of now. India is a part of this agency, and India was also a founding member of International Atomic Energy Agency. Now, it is this energy agency which is responsible to monitor the nuclear developments, arsenals, bases, weapons in each and every country of the world. All right. Okay. Now, India naturally, when we undertook the foundation of or became a founding member of International Atomic Energy Agency, we were not a nuclear weapon state, or we were not even a nuclear country back then. All right. We became a nuclear country on 18th of May 1974 with our first nuclear weapon testing named Operation Smiling Buddha in Pokhran, Rajasthan. All right. Then India undertook her second nuclear weapon testing with Operation Shakti, which was for about 3 days, also known as Pokhran 2 testing, from 11th of May to 13th of May 1998. All right. The first one was undertaken during the tenure of Prime Minister Indira Gandhi. The second was undertaken during the tenure of Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee. All right. Okay. Now, India became a nuclear power in 1974, and just 6 years before India became a part of it, there was a treaty that was brought in the world known as Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, NPT. This treaty was signed in 1968, and the purpose of this treaty was to prevent the proliferation or spread of nuclear weapons to other countries. Why? Because nuclear weapons are weapons of mass destruction. All right. Okay. So this treaty gave a particular definition of nuclear weapon states. All right. And as per the treaty, all the countries who possessed nuclear weapons as of 1st of January 1967 were considered as nuclear weapon states. And now everybody who's going to sign the treaty will be prohibited from developing nuclear weapons. All right. Back then in 1967, there were only 5 countries which were nuclear weapon states, and they were known as the P5. All right. The P5 in the sense the United Nations Security Council's permanent 5. That is UK, US, Russia, China, and France. All right. Other than these 5 countries, everybody had to sign it. India did not sign the treaty, and along with India in 1968, there were 3 countries who did not sign the treaty. One was India, who did not sign it. One was Pakistan, who did not sign it, and the other was Israel, who did not sign it. All right. Iran had signed the treaty. North Korea had signed the treaty. North Korea was a signatory, but in 2003, North Korea withdrew from the treaty. And South Sudan is the 5th country which was established in 2011, and South Sudan is not a signatory to NPT. All right. So out of all the countries, there are 9 countries in South Sudan is also a non-signatory, and South Sudan is also not a nuclear weapon state. All right. South Sudan does not possess nuclear weapons, but these 9 countries, they are nuclear weapon countries. All right. The P5 and India, Pakistan, Israel, and North Korea. These are 4 other countries who possess nuclear weapons. All right. Okay. Then other non-proliferation systems that have been developed are Wassenaar Agreement. India is a member of it. Australia Group. India is a member of it. Missile Technology Control Regime. India is a member of it. and nuclear supplies group, India is not a part of it. All right. Then looking into India's nuclear doctrine, India has certain principles as to the use of or deployment of nuclear weapons. First is no first use, that India is never going to use nuclear weapons in the first instance. It will only always be in a retaliatory attack. Non-use on civilians. India will never use nuclear weapons on civilians, only to destroy armed bases and as a last resort. India is always going to use nuclear weapons as a last resort. All right. India is a nuclear energy country also, because naturally nuclear energy is a more sustainable way of producing energy. In India, we have a total of 7 major nuclear power plants, as in the big ones, and you need to remember them. So one is Narora in UP, then we have Rawat Bhatta in Rajasthan, we have Tarapur in Maharashtra, we have Kakrapar in Gujarat, Kaiga in Karnataka, and Kalpakkam and Kundankulam in Tamil Nadu. All right. So these are our 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 major nuclear power plants in the country. All right. Then this year in 2025, the government has also launched National Nuclear Energy Mission. Why has this mission been launched? Obviously to meet our NDC targets, nationally determined contributions, and also because India seeks to become a Viksit Bharat by 2047. So under this mission, the government has provided it a budget outlay of rupees 20,000 crores, and under the mission, the government seeks to set up 5 indigenously developed small modular reactors to generate nuclear energy by 2033. Okay. All right. Then certain miscellaneous information. We had the Combined Commanders Conference, which was the 16th one in Kolkata, and it was here in Calcutta that the Ministry of Defense had declared 2025 as the year of reforms. All right. Then last month in October, I think October, November, India has signed a major defense partnership framework with the USA, and this is, I think, the third one. The first one was for 10 years, 2005 to 15. Then we had the second one, 2015 to 25. Now we have the third one from 2025 to 2035. And under this partnership agreement, we obviously have certain foundational agreements like DECA, ISA, LEMOA, COMCASA, which facilitate intelligence sharing, logistics sharing with USA, and also facilitates undertaking many defense agreements and later import-export of defense armaments, equipments, as well as defense exercises between the two countries. All right. Then we also had UN Troop Contributing Countries Chief Conclave in 2025, and also India has become a part of Eurodrone program. All right. Okay. Then defense exercises in news in 2025. Now, this was something that a lot of you had been asking me to take up. So here it is. You only need to remember the name of the exercise, and you need to remember with whom do we conduct these exercises. So first is Suryakaran. It is with India, between India and Nepal. Then we have La Perouse, which is between India and the navies of 9 countries in the Indo-Pacific region. It was hosted by France. Dharm Guardian, India and Japan. It is not Nepal, sorry children. India and Japan. All right. Dharm Guardian is between India and Japan, not Nepal. Exercise equivalent, India and Maldives, and equivalent means friends. All right. Then Cyclone 2025 exercise was undertaken between India and Egypt. Indra exercise between India and Russia. Baron exercise between India and France, and this is a naval exercise. And other than that, we also have 2 other exercises with France. One is Garud, which is Air Force, and one is Shakti, which is Army. All right. Then we have Bongo Sagar, which the name itself is very suggestive, is undertaken with Bangladesh, and Khanjar exercise, which is with India and Kyrgyzstan. All right. Then Tropex was undertaken this year. It is an in-house, in the sense it is an Indian exercise which is undertaken by India's Navy. Then in your course, multinational air exercise which undertook in Greece, India was a part of it. Desert flag, India and UAE. Dastalek, India and Uzbekistan. Tiger Trump, now this is specifically important because this is one exercise with US which we undertake to provide humanitarian assistance and disaster relief. All right. Then we have nomadic elephant, India and Mongolia. Khan Quest is also India and Mongolia. Passex is India and UK. Bolt Kurukshetra, India and Singapore. All right. Then we have Simbex. Simbex is particularly important because it is actually one of the longest exercises that India undertakes with any country. All right. So India Singapore maritime bilateral exercise. We are undertaking this since 1994. This is also known as exercise Lion King. All right. Then Jamata. This is for the first time that Indian Coast Guard is undertaking an exercise with the Japanese Coast Guard. All right. Then Slinex, India and Sri Lanka. Bright Star between, it is actually a bilateral exercise between Egypt, USA and Egypt, but India participated it in 2025. Then Zapad is also a bilateral exercise between Russia and Belarus, but India participated in it this year. Then we have Yuddhabhyas, India and USA, Konkan, India and UK, Austra Hind, India and Australia, Samudra Shakti, India and Indonesia. GIMEX, India, Japan, and exercise Open Sky, which is a multinational air exercise with Spain. Okay. So this is everything in defense in the year 2025 that you have to keep in mind. All right. So this was a pretty comprehensive session where we've covered all the major important bodies, major exercises, operations, the new launches by DRDO, and that is everything that you have to keep on your fingertips from the defense point of view for this year's exam. All right. Okay. So I'll see you in the next session, and I hope it was a good one. All right. Okay. Chala. Thank you, everybody.